We're losing our minds. Depression, anxiety and other disorders are on the rise. But what are the solutions to this mental health crisis? We explore the big questions and unique approaches to boosting our psychological well-being. On this week's show, what's the future of psychological treatment? We meet tech developers trying to improve mental health outcomes in Denmark. And I look at Jamaica's push to be a world leader in magic mushroom therapy. But with few laws around the use of psilocybin there, is it safe? This is Mindset. 24-year-old Sophie Olsen has suffered from schizophrenia since early childhood. Today, in Denmark, she's part of the world's largest study exploring the use of immersive virtual reality to treat her condition. Guided by a therapist, headset sessions aim to help patients safely confront the voices in their head.
Så feminin, maskulin, hvilken retning skal vi?
Feminin.
Over mod det feminine.
It begins with designing an avatar that resembles the hallucination Sophie hears. First, she chooses how the avatar looks.
Og håret?
Ja, det var jo det med, at det skal være lidt længere.
Det skal være lidt længere.
Ja. Jeg tror, det var shoulder length straight.
Og alder?
Ja, det er måske en lille smule.
Then, she chooses what the avatar sounds like.
Pitch, kan du huske, hvad det er?
Ja, jeg tror ikke, den skal ændres på så meget.
Det er en hverdag i dag, hvor solen skinner.
Ja.
Super.
Ja.
Sophie then puts the headset on and starts speaking with the avatar, which is voiced by the therapist.
Du laver hele tiden fejl.
Det er jo menneskeligt at lave fejl. Vi er ikke alle perfekte. Der er ikke nogen, der er perfekte. Jo, det kan jeg da godt. Det er menneskeligt at...
Sophie is encouraged to speak up against the avatar so that the hallucinations lose their power or disappear.
Sophie, in that environment with the headset on, being immersed, how does that help you cope? Like, can you explain that?
It really helps because I suddenly have the voice inside my head in front of me and being able to talk directly to it rather than just in my head. It's me who's in control and it's me who's able to say, like, no, don't say that, that's not true, that's not the way I am, you don't know that about me.
So it sounds as though you feel like strong.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like suddenly I have the power over myself and not the voices.
Sophie's tried other types of treatment, including medication and speaking with a therapist, but says only virtual reality therapy has worked.
What surprised me probably the most was how, just through the first session, how well it made me feel instantly, basically, at like being able to talk to it that way in my own like little safe space.
The team from the University of Copenhagen, who are leading the study, say that all schizophrenic patients who have undergone the treatment have shown some form of improvement. Buoyed by their success, the researchers are now testing their tech on other mental health conditions. They're hoping they can change more lives like Sophie's.
Sophie, what are your dreams? What do you hope to do in life?
Well, I want to be out there and do what I love, whether it's working with animals or with animation or something like that.
And how do you hope this therapy will help you achieve those dreams?
It would definitely help a lot because with my past educations and stuff like that, it was always the battle of, oh, you're gonna drop out, you're never gonna become anything. Now I can say like, it's okay. It's all about like taking chances and seeing if they work or not.
As someone who's benefited from using technology, Sophie hopes Denmark will continue to embrace new innovations to improve mental health and well-being.
People should have an open mind towards technology when it comes to mental health because instead of being afraid, we can use it to our advantage and that technology can help the way it helped me. I do truly hope that other people are able to use it soon enough so they also can feel the relief I have felt.
Across Denmark, schools are embracing new technology to improve well-being in the classroom. Children here use mood monitoring apps such as Wolf that quiz them about how they're feeling. After the results are in, students and teachers like Henrietta Viskum can see the overall mood of the class.
Okay, er vi klar? Klar til resultatet. Okay, 4,6 i humør. Vi er lidt oppe i humør, det er super.
Top positiv, det kommer ikke bag på nogen. Det er familie, ligesom det plejer. Top negativ, sociale medier. Hvad handler det om? Har det været... Sker der et eller andet noget på sociale medier, Emil?
Ligesom, jeg hørte fra programmet, jeg ved ikke om det er rigtigt, at Aisha Speeds lillebror, han har fortalt alt, hvad han er gået igennem i skolen, og han er blevet mobbet from type og sådan noget.
Their number one negative point today was social media, and that opens the conversation. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, this streamer that did that, or this happened on TikTok, and then it's good for me to know, oh, okay, something really bad is going on right now. That's good for me to be aware of, maybe also the parents.
You know, when you see the screen, it kind of gives you a statistical overview of a classroom. Why are the stats important to you as a school teacher?
So as teachers, it's become such a multifaceted job, and we have a lot of issues with kids that are not having a good time, and a lot more administrative work as well. So it's good for me to have a tool that's making sure that I check in with them every week.
I dag vi har taget 4 ting, vi gerne vil igennem.
Henrietta is part of a small group of teachers who give feedback to the team behind Woof so they can keep improving the app. CEO Matthias Probst shows me how it works.
It's super easy to do with Woof. It takes 3 minutes in the classroom, right? So this is a QR code that you can use with your phone.
Yep.
It opens up in here. The very first thing I do, I choose a dog. And today I'm a happy dog, yeah? And I go on, and then after that, I can choose what impacts me positively right now. So food was good, yeah. Then what didn't work for me? Okay, one thing is social media impacts me badly right now. So then there's a different thing. This is, we call them selections. So the classroom, here building their narrative together. What do we like? Okay, I like the outdoor more than the indoor. That's definite. I also like group work more than working alone. And I also like fairy tales more than horror stories, yeah? Now this says, thank you for...
Woof then generates a mood landscape for the class based on their answers.
This is how it would look for a teacher, right? So all the kids do this, and then here you see, this is the dogs they chose. This is the positive and the negative impact factors. Then over here you have the classroom interests. And again, this is building up the narrative of the classroom. What do we like? And this is something that is super important for us. We want the classroom to work on well-being together instead of working it individually. If something impacts us, we need to take the responsibility together and then help each other out.
Is there any way that encourages children to ensure that they're giving as honest answers as possible?
Yeah, we chose very early on to do this, to do everything anonymously. Super important because the very difficult thing in a classroom is to speak up on a topic.
Matthias and the other 3 creators of Woof know the classroom well. They all taught in Denmark's public school system and were frustrated with the lack of support for youth mental health.
We have more resources than a lot of other countries. We have one of the best schooling systems, so why do the kids not thrive? And they don't. It's been a curve going down for a long time. It's the biggest problem that we face. The mental health of our youth, that is what drives me, putting my energy towards that.
In Denmark, there's heated debate surrounding the use of technology by children, ranging from screen time to data privacy. Matthias says Woof protects children by collecting no personal data at all, but notes that misapprehensions remain about how the technology works.
For instance, we don't do AI at all, but you can put us in some kind of situation where you say, AI is crazy, it's dangerous, and you guys are kind of doing it. We're not doing AI, and we're never going to do AI. We do an analysis for the teacher. Very different.
You were just quite forthright in saying you would never do artificial intelligence. What is your aversion to that technology?
I think it's early stage technology. There are many problematic fields within AI that we haven't, discovered yet. So I wouldn't bring that into a fairly new technology that we've created.
In my conversation with Matthias, I was quite surprised when he said that he wouldn't use any artificial intelligence technology in any future software that he develops. But as you'll soon discover, Not every inventor feels that way.
At the Technical University of Denmark, Lena Clemenson has spent 5 years creating AI-based systems to help screen and treat children for mental disorders. One of them is a project where people are coached to develop emotional awareness. But this coach isn't a person. It's an AI-powered chatbot that can respond to voices and facial expressions.
Hello, I'm here to help guide you through exploring and expressing your emotions. Let's start by identifying which emotion you find the most challenging to express.
Yeah, so we could, for example, work on happiness.
Happiness.
Yeah.
And it thinks...
I'm detecting some anger in your facial expression.
Is that you or is that me?
I don't know, let's work on that.
Once you have it in mind,
The chatbot asks me to imagine an incident which might make me angry.
Skipping lunch.
that certainly sounds frustrating. Now take a moment to really connect with that anger. As you visualize the feeling of hunger when you've missed lunch, pay attention to how it feels when you let this emotion live on your face. Please take your time and let me know when you're ready to move on.
I'm ready.
Wonderful. Now I invite you to let that anger go. Allow your body and face to relax, returning to a neutral state. Take as much time as you need and let me know when you're ready to continue.
Please continue.
Great job. You are doing well learning to express and control your emotions.
Where do you see this technology really helping people in the mental health sector?
This specific working on emotions could be more on the autism spectrum, for example, where you need to work with how to express emotion, but it could be any of us saying, okay, there's maybe, in a work situation where you often look angry, but this is not what you're trying to express. You could also go in and work on that through an app like this.
6 months ago, would this be even possible?
Maybe not to this extent. There's a lot of stuff happening right now in this space, and it's just improving with very high speeds.
But it's not just new technology that could be developed to improve our mental health. From Denmark, I'm heading to Jamaica, where an emerging therapy is making waves. It involves using psilocybin, a compound found in so-called magic mushrooms. At this villa, these tourists are on a 4-day retreat where they'll take the psychedelic drug for its medicinal properties. Kirsten Watermeyer was recommended the retreat by her brother.
He said he was profoundly changed from having done the treatment here, and we have the same childhood traumas. He's a doctor, he's an anaesthetist, so he has the medical science background, and for him to turn around and say, this just did it. It's eye-opening for me.
The mother of 2 has tried several therapists where she lives in America.
It takes time to get comfortable with the therapist, whereas from my understanding, the psilocybin, it just basically pushes you through the door and says, deal with it.
Kirsten is a guest of Troy Tennyson's magic mushroom retreat, Mycelia, which started in January 2023. The Canadian has a background in real estate.
It's an amazing, powerful medicine. I tried it, and it was kind of very scary the first time.
Why do you feel this is the perfect setting for such a therapy?
I find that nature is a better place to do it, and there just hasn't been any rules or regulations placed that would make it difficult to start up a retreat here in Jamaica.
Mycelia is one of around 20 companies offering psilocybin-assisted therapy in Jamaica. Troy's retreat accepts up to 10 guests at a time, all screened beforehand with at least 1 call and a questionnaire.
I've only ever rejected 2 people on the basis of concerns over their medication, or in one case it was the person's age. They were just too young for us to care for.
So for Sacred Son, that is for... Yeah.
Over 4 days, Troy's staff will give guests 3 doses of psilocybin, each increasing in size. Today they're preparing the largest quantity, called the heroic dose, designed to give a psychedelic trip of up to 6 hours.
If it feels like it's overwhelming, they can slow the process down.
A hero's dose is usually anywhere from 7 to 14 grams, depending on that particular client. The deeper you go, the more repairs that get done. And yeah, we don't miss.
In Jamaica, there are no laws governing how much psilocybin a person can take. It's a stark contrast to other countries where you could be jailed or face the death penalty for possessing magic mushrooms.
We're changing lives, we're saving lives. I think that we're way behind. This should have been done 40 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. I've had people that had suicidal tendencies a couple of times, and the mushrooms have taken that desire away, which is a good thing.
How much knowledge did you amass before opening the doors to, retreats like this?
I looked for people in the industry through LinkedIn. I consulted with doctors. I have doctors who are friends. And every time I have a retreat, I learn something new. So we just continue to make it a little bit better each time.
Do you feel at this retreat there is adequate, supervision when people take the mushrooms?
Oh yeah, 100%. We usually have one guide for each 2 people.
With a master's degree in neuroscience, Teodora Petkova is one of those guides.
We don't believe in disorders. We don't believe in anyone being sick or broken. It's because certain needs are not being met, and we get to know compassionately what these individuals are needing.
Aside from overseeing the psychedelic trips, these guides provide a range of other activities, like yoga and sound healing. But it's magic mushrooms that have the biggest impact.
Through psilocybin, there's this transcendental experience, there's anything from expansive, blissful joy. And there's the flip side. There is a replay of some of the most traumatizing experiences that might have been encountered in your life. And my personal belief is the medicine doesn't always give you what you want, it gives you what you need.
Such psychological enlightenment for these 4 days comes with a $3,500 bill.
Inhale, bring ourselves back up.
But that's cheap. Some one-week retreats in Jamaica charge up to $16,000 per person. Customers like Kirsten are undeterred by the price.
So in one word, what do you want?
Acceptance. I think all of our traumas comes down to self-love, self-recognition, which is very lacking in myself especially. And I'm hoping to see the light, the bigger light in life.
Leaving the coast gives me time to reflect. I only saw wealthy foreign tourists at the retreat.
But what about Jamaicans? Are they benefiting from mushroom therapy? I've come to the capital, Kingston, to find out more.
At the University of the West Indies, psychiatrist Dr. Winston De La Haye is researching the effects of mushroom therapy. Previously Jamaica's chief medical officer, he now heads the Caribbean Psychedelics Association. Since 2021, this lab on campus has tested the psychoactive properties of local magic mushrooms to ensure they're safe to sell and export.
So in essence, you're testing for a pure product.
This laboratory is what allows you to have that objective sheet of paper with objective evidence of what's in this product that you're buying. I don't take chances with my health, so I would prefer getting my products from somewhere like this.
At his clinic downtown, this patient is one of 120 Jamaicans treated with doses of psilocybin by Dr. Winston. He says sufferers of severe trauma, obsessive-compulsive disorder, alcoholism and depression have all benefited from his 9-week treatment program.
So here's a product that can be prescribed for persons, and on a single usage, depending on the dosage, they do well and stay well. I know no other product like that in all of psychiatry. Hey, Kirk.
Hey, Doc.
Come on in.
What happens here is very different to Troy's retreat. Under Dr. Winston, patients receive incremental doses of psilocybin every 3 days for 3 weeks, followed by a 7-day break.
Just providing psychedelics for a patient isn't sufficient. We recommend a combination of psychotherapy along with the psilocybin.
Dr. Winston says his training is vital for assessing suitable candidates.
Do I offer to all patients? No. If you've had a history with me of not coming, missing appointments, and heavy cannabis use, I'm not your guy for that. A patient with a history of schizophrenia or a first-degree relative with schizophrenia, clearly not.
Nurses also supervise the treatment.
I'm very clear. You shouldn't take more than 1 gram of psilocybin and not be supervised by someone. Certainly at 3 grams, you're going to have cognitive distortions you're not in control of, and at 6 grams, even more so. The effects are dose dependent.
In the past 4 years, Dr. Winston has treated a number of people who were rushed to hospital after they consumed mushrooms in retreats or at home.
Patients can get psychotic with high doses of psychedelics, and it can be persistent.
Jamaica is a signatory to a UN treaty which limits its ability to import or export magic mushrooms. But there's no other restrictions. Dr. Winston says Jamaica's mushroom industry lacks regulations, safeguards, and qualified staff.
But that won't continue, can't continue, should not continue.
There are many retreats across Jamaica. Like, what concerns do you have about them?
Well, one, that the safety that's required isn't in place. And the more patients you do, then the more you're going to have of persons with an untoward effect. That's the disadvantage of these retreats, where you may not have full histories. You're dependent on persons self-reporting. So all of these retreats should have access to a psychiatrist who they consult. You must.
And is that happening?
Here,
are there
to my knowledge, no.
Are these retreats giving psilocybin treatment a bad name?
I think ultimately that's the end result.
Back at the retreat, the guests are getting ready to take the heroic dose of psilocybin. A secluded outdoor location is chosen for the trip. This time, it's a botanical garden. I can't help but think, what would happen if someone suffered a psychotic episode, raised blood pressure, or an elevated heart rate from this high dose?
Nothing is without risk, right? We would transport that person to a doctor or the hospital.
Some people we've spoken to have said there should be a trained psychologist on site at every retreat. Do you agree?
I mean, a therapist, depending on who they were, I found them to be more stringent, more standoffish than our therapists, where they're hands-on.
Why would more regulations hamper the experience or affect the work you do?
I think that there's just not enough knowledge to start making rules yet. And I just think regulations just bog things down, keep people out of the market, and you know, add unnecessary costs and obligations to something that really doesn't need to be that, you know, that regulated.
Just before they take the dose, we stop filming out of respect for their privacy. A few days later, I meet up with Kirsten to see how the magic mushroom therapy affected her.
For me, it had a delayed response. I had requested to go back to the villa early because I was just not having fun. I was out of my elements. I was hot, bothered. There was too many bugs. But as soon as I was back indoors in the villa, that's when it hit me. You know, people say they see kaleidoscopes. I didn't have any of that. The nausea was pretty strong, but I was very calm, very logical.
So what did you learn about yourself?
I learned that I need to trust myself more, not be in such a rush to get to the result.
Would you take mushrooms again?
Yes. I think mushrooms in a setting with a therapist could be very helpful because they would be leading you with questions to say, okay, well, now that you've figured that out, how do you feel about this? And I think that's where a therapist combination with mushrooms could really be useful.
Jamaica is showing us possibilities and challenges for magic mushroom therapy. Mental health professionals and patients alike see psilocybin as a new way of improving our psychological well-being. But for now, the lack of regulation and pursuit of profits could put the reputation of this psychedelic paradise at risk.